Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, music, pop culture, social media, news, sports, everything really, depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is the vocalist of a band called Dead Poet Society. We're with Jack Underkofler. Jack, welcome to Popternative, man.
Yo, what's up?
Thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you for having me, man. You came in with such strong energy when I first hopped on the call. I was like, are we already recording? Like, what's going on here?
No, I know. That's just I don't know. That's just how I am. I was excited to talk about you. Thank you for doing this. It's funny because, streaming, I feel like, has been like songs and bands like Dead Poet Society have been kind of streamed and like listened to by people all around the world, like more than ever now because of like COVID and everything.
Yeah.
When did you kind of realize that like the streaming game was like huge for Dead Poet Society? Was it kind of like when Corona kind of started, you saw a peak, or like when did that kind of start? Because there's a lot of people on a monthly basis listening to your band.
Yeah, well, Spotify, even before Corona, has been I think since like pretty much the inception of it, has been like kind of a marker for our size.
Yep.
Like a gauge for how we're doing.
Yep.
Just because of monthly listeners and your followers, it gives you just metrics of like who's listening, how many people stay with you. And since Corona's hit, I mean, we've gone up, like 50, 60,000 monthly listeners from playlisting on Spotify, which is heavily influenced by a woman named Ali Hagendorf, who's awesome. She's kind of like the gatekeeper for all of rock of Spotify. I'm not sure if you've heard of her.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, everybody has.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, it is huge. But the thing is, it's always been huge. But it's always, you can't have it without the touring as well.
Yeah, I know. They kind of they work together. It's like a tag team.
Exactly. It's like, here's the appetizer, and then going and playing for them is the main entree. It's like,
I'm sure a lot of like you're in a lot of the same boat as a lot of bands where you're just like itching to get back out there.
Yeah, every day. I'm like, I went through such a like a depressed stage in the beginning of Corona that it was like every time I'd see a live video on Instagram, there would just be like a pit in my stomach, just thinking like, it's probably going to be a year until I play a show again. And we were about to play South by Southwest when it all went down.
Man, that there was a lot of things too. Like I'm a big sports guy because I'm in Canada. There was a lot of like hockey events that were like happening like 2-3 days before everything shut down. Like it was like, yeah, man,
dude, everything was ramping up, and then it was just.
I was talking about this with some friends though. Like because I work at like a hockey rink, and we did, we had like these all-star game events for like a lot of teams in our men's league, our beer leagues basically, and like we did that like one weekend, and then literally like the next weekend everything shut down. Like it was so weird how it was.
I didn't even think about that, like how that probably jacked all of those different like fantasy sites and everything.
It was
that sucks. There's nothing you can do.
It's crazy, man. And like the NFL right now, like games are being postponed like because of COVID. And they basically had a game where like all 4 quarterbacks of the Broncos got coronavirus. So they had to start like someone who wasn't a quarterback. So I think all like the betting sites, I think like didn't like close the betting for that game.
Jesus, dude.
I know it's wild. No, for sure. There's a lot of reasons why. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're in this band, you're doing it because you love it. But at the end of the day, it is a job. It's what you're doing to kind of pay the bills, well, as much as you can. You know what I mean? Because we know about the music industry. When did you kind of realize like this was something that you can kind of like you could start kind of making a living, where it wasn't just kind of you writing songs and playing small shows? Was there kind of a moment in time where it kind of like sparked into like, man, this is good. This could be my livelihood.
I think it traces back to like two moments. And the first moment wasn't necessarily monetary. It was back in 2014.
Hmm.
This guy named Pepe or Joe, who had a channel called Pepe Problemas in Mexico. He's like this big YouTuber down there. And he does reaction videos. And he saw our song Sound and Silence because we just happened to advertise down there because we had $100 to spend on advertising, and we're typing in a bunch of different countries, seeing where we could just get the most reach. And Mexico just happened to be that, and so we threw the money at it, and he saw it like a few days later, best $100 we ever spent, because it was like all of a sudden the video just kind of like started skyrocketing. We were like, what the fuck is happening? I remember when I was standing on the corner of Hemingway and Boylston in Boston. I was just refreshing the video. It was going like 60 likes, 61, and then it went 250 likes, 300 likes. I was like, whoa. And so that was a big validating moment that it was like people are responding to this. Like, that's really cool. And we got to go on tour like a few months later with the YouTuber who had a band of his own. And he took us down there, and we made all of these fans, and we we're like, okay, there is actually something here. Maybe we could do this for a living. And then the second event was this Bad Flower tour we did last year.
Another great band.
Yeah, they're amazing and such generous and just awesome people, everyone in that band and team. And Josh, the singer, had kind of discovered us. So I believe we commented on a photo of theirs or something. He discovered us and fell in love with our song Coda. And he was like, we need to take these guys on tour. And funny enough, the drummer of Bad Flower had been friends with my guitarist, Jack, for like 2 years.
The other Jack.
And so the other Jack, yeah. No, me and my alter ego. And who just happens to be named Jack as well. He was like, oh, I know Jack from the guitarist of that band. And Josh was like, oh, you know them? Oh, okay, this is a done deal. Let's do this. Let's bring them on tour. And so we went on tour with them, and that was the first like big US tour we had done. I mean, we had done a US tour before, but like that one was, it was 25 shows in a month. And I mean, obviously it's one of the best experiences of our lives, but also like we made way more money than we thought we were going to.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Like, oh, this is excellent. Okay. We're actually not that far off from success. It's like, it's a real astonishing gauger.
When you put the work in, when we put the reps in, I tell a lot of people this because I'm seeing it with my show, with my podcast and talk show, like Popternative. I mean, it's like when you put in the work, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but it really does pay off, and it really does pay dividends. Like when you put in the work for something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, because the thing is, it is nothing but baby steps, step by step. And so it's really hard when you're going day to day to step back and see how far you've climbed.
Yeah.
But then you look back a year ago and you're like, oh, we had like half the listeners back then. It was like, there is progress being made, but the thing is, it's hard to stay in that mindset of like,
what's the listener count? So 198,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Yeah.
Is that blowing your mind a little bit? That's crazy, eh?
It is pretty wild to look at. I was hoping to cross 200,000, but we've kind of leveled off just before, and we're like, man, the fucking Spotify gods.
Is it kind of funny too? Like it's funny because when I have a lot of, actors from big TV shows on, you know what I mean? A lot of people kind of like publicists pitch, they look at, our Instagram following, I'm looking at the guest Instagram follow. Everyone talks about Instagram, right? Like Instagram followers and everything. And it's like, but then for the music, it's definitely like the monthly listeners on Spotify. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the gauge. Yeah, dude. That is always the gauge. I mean, it's so funny, even comparing rock to hip hop and looking at the scale of the overall band. It's like the average, like a good successful rock band is like 3 to 5 million. The average hip hop artist on Spotify is like 6 million, and large is like 20 million.
I know.
It's just
But rock, I
Mind-boggling.
feel like rock and like punk and like pop punk and all that though. I feel like it streams and it streams really well. Like like they do bands like you do really well. I find on Spotify, and the playlists, dude. Like that's how I discovered your band. Right, was with a Spotify
Which playlist was
playlist.
it? Do
It
you know?
was it? It was either New Noise. You know the one that was like New
Mhm.
Noise, where like they just like kind of like bring in new songs of like different genres. It was
Yeah, we're
definitely
actually on that right now. Yeah.
yeah, it was New Noise, and it was I believe, is it possible they put In Too Deep on that one?
Yeah, they did put in too deep on that one.
And I told you this before we started, like that's one of my favorite songs of the year. And I'm wondering what's gonna happen when my Spotify Wrapped comes up. You know, like the Wrapped that they do, like the
Oh,
year
at
in
the end of the
review.
year, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably gonna maybe be my top 10.
Oh, you think? This
I
late in the
listen,
year?
I listen to
That's
that
a
song.
that's a bold
Well,
choice.
dude, that song like just kind of like, and I think it's like your voice, dude. It's just kind of like doesn't waste time. Like right away, just kind of like
Hit you in the
hits
face.
you in the face.
Dude, that's so funny. Because I was so paranoid releasing that song that it was just gonna annoy the shit out of people. Like it just starts blah, blah, all of like just screaming at the person listening to it in their car. I thought they were gonna be like, "What the fuck is
Well,
this
no,
shit?" And
it
just
gets
hit
you.
next.
No, but it kind of like it's like you're throwing that kind of part that part where you're kind of starting it. It's kind of like reeling someone in, like you're listening to it. Because like I said, like there's a lot of bands. Like I'm a big fan of like songs that kind of start heavy with a punch. I mean, you guys have a
Mhm.
lot of songs like other songs that they'll break in eventually, but they start kind of slow. And
Yeah.
I think it has to do too with like songs like Low Air and stuff. Where like I think it's like you like let's be honest, guys, like you're a modest guy. You're not gonna like talk about it a lot, but you have like an insane voice. Like I don't know how the hell you do some of the things
I
you do.
appreciate it, that dude.
So I think maybe the band maybe wants to kind of like like I feel like you guys like
Like
gotta
highlight it or
highlight it a
something.
little bit. You know what I mean?
Maybe
Yeah.
that's yeah, maybe I mean maybe that is the maybe
Your
it's a
voice is
subconscious
insane though.
trait.
I don't know.
I appreciate that.
I don't get it sometimes. Like your
Dude, I mean,
range, dude. It's
it's
crazy.
honestly a gift and a curse because I write songs that fucking are so goddamn hard to sing live that I'm just like for instance, like I'll be honest, like In Too Deep, I fucking hate singing that. Even though I'm like, that's a pretty,
Well,
I'm
it
pretty
goes
proud of
pretty
that song.
high.
Yeah, for the whole fucking song. And it doesn't stop and it stays up there. So like we just did we're doing this like this we're playing all of our songs live in our rehearsal space and
Yeah.
we're setting up like a 360 cam and we're
Yep.
going to be releasing a bunch of live songs on our YouTube.
Yep.
Um and In Too Deep, we just filmed it yesterday and it was the third time trying to do it because I do 3 passes of the song and my voice is just fucking shot. Like it's just like how am I gonna do this live? We'll fucking figure it out.
It's
But
funny
oh
because I
man.
interviewed like a band like August Burns Red that I'm a big fan of too. Like they're just like so good at their instruments, like technical and like all their stuff. And
Mhm.
like they too, they're like sometimes we don't even understand why we write some of the stuff we write because then we have to play it live and it's so hard to play live.
Dude, you fuck yourself over so hard in the writing process because you the way you record and the way you do things is oftentimes section by section. You know, it's
Mhm.
like when you come up with a part, you're only playing it for 30 seconds at a time, and then you
Absolutely.
put it in a live setting where you're basically doing a high intensity workout on stage the whole time, and then it's like play this or sing this. You know?
Absolutely. I want to get a little deep and a little philosophical right now with you. I just
Okay,
kind of have I want your kind of opinion. I want
I
to pick your
dig it.
brain about something I always think about. So I'm 29 right now. I started like when I was about 17, 18, very young, was a concert
Okay,
promoter. I booked shows, right? So I've kind of
God
seen
bless you.
yeah, I was very young, dealing with a lot of stuff. um, but I saw a lot of it, right? So I know what you guys go through, right? Like a lot of people could say, like, oh, like they're a touring band, like before COVID, obviously they're a touring band, they're doing this, but I understand the struggles, I understand the game, I understand it all. I'm noticing something interesting though. Let's be honest, right? Music and a lot like Dead Poet Society is a band. We said there's like almost 200,000 people listening to you guys on a monthly basis. There are a lot of people out there that you guys are very important to them. That are you're bringing them out of really tough times. You are providing them with an escape because the world is very tough right now and a lot of people put on music and they kind of leave for a little bit. So
Yeah,
first of all, thank you for doing that
I
because that is
appreciate that.
amazing.
Thank you.
But my point is, I feel like this whole like rock star ego thing of rock stars being like jerks and cocky and not nice, I think that's kind of been diminished a little bit, because I feel like, is it just me, or bands kind of like looked at numbers or looked at messages and said, listen, we like are doing this because we love our craft, but we're actually making a difference in people's lives. So we need to be like forever grateful every day and just check
it
it
might
out.
be overstating it a little bit, but yeah.
Do you know what I mean a little bit?
I do get what you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, there's such an ego within music, because you get these kids that were, the majority of musicians were never popular growing up.
No.
They weren't the highlight. They weren't the attention seekers. So you build, but you have this sort of like negative ego that gets in the way of a lot of growing and developing as a person, because you have this like, everyone should know who I am, and I'm gonna fucking show them. I'm gonna show the world. And I just think that ego is just honestly so destructive, and people feel like they need to have it because it's like you want to be like a spectacle. You know, you want people to envy your life and whatnot. And I guess it does work to a certain extent, but for me, it's honestly just being like me, just being myself, being real. Like, I'm a fucking nerd. I like literally before I hopped on this with you, I just watched a 20-minute video on a SpaceX, like the SpaceX launch that's happening next week. And like, I don't understand half the shit in there because I'm a moron. Like, I learn everything I know a lot of shit, but on a skin deep level. Like, dig past the surface, I know nothing. But I digress. I think that rock is starting to get a little bit of an edge back to it, because you're starting to see a little bit more of the personalities, like the douchey kind of thing. But like, honestly, I think the ones that stick out and rise to the top are the people that are real, you know, and that often gets confused with being, you know, fucking a douchebag or something like that. It's like the difference between like confidence and ego.
I've seen it stop though. Like, cause I said, I lived it, right? I've been into it. I've seen bands and tours have bad days.
Yeah, you've probably met a lot of assholes that are.
Yeah. But like, I've definitely seen it, like, cause it's insane how important music is, man. And I think a lot of people will do self-reflecting and be like, I need to not take it for granted. Like, I truly, yeah, I know you said I overstated a little bit, but like, I truly think that's a little bit of like a thing, that a narrative that
I think it's
on.
no, I mean, I think I was getting a little tense because I was in the limelight, just being like, yeah, my music makes a difference. No, but I think it does, because like, I mean, my girlfriend and I listen to Cleopatra nonstop. And,
Canada.
Yeah, Canada boys. And during the beginning of Corona is when we kind of like started getting really into them. And it was just like, it's just music that kind of keeps you alive and keeps you going.
Well,
and,
I've interviewed quite a few bands that I feel like are on that. There's a lot of bands, like a lot of like rock alternative bands that I've interviewed. Like, I've interviewed like a band called Broken Love. I interviewed the Blue Stones. Like, a lot of these bands that they're Canadian, but they're on a lot of those like playlists with like Dead Poet Society. Like, they're on with you guys, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sick being able to like look at a playlist and see your name next to artists that you.
But dude, that's
like,
how I found
admire,
all my music, you know? Dude. I don't need anything else. That's literally how I find music. Like, those Spotify playlists just like never let me down. They're amazing. They never let me down. I'm telling you,
it's
right now.
It's such a genius invention, you know?
And they're so up to date. Like, every day there's like 3 or 4 new songs that kind of show up, and I'm just like, yes, like, I'm gonna listen to this. It's
always refreshing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good music. There's a lot of bad music, but there's a lot of good music too. And so when you sift through it, you kind of like, okay, you find some really new shit. And that's what I kind of like about rock right now, is that I feel like it kind of took a nosedive as far as like uniqueness and being new. Like, a little bit over a decade ago, it kind of just nosedived, and you were left with like a select few bands like Black Keys and Imagine Dragons. But then it kind of started bubbling up again. You know, it was like, I heard Youngblood put it one way, that people didn't have shit to say anymore. They weren't saying anything anymore. It was just all this fucking stomp, clap, Target commercial bullshit. Whatever syncs to a commercial easiest will write that. And now you're starting to see this like new wave of artists that are doing things and saying things now, like Nothing But Thieves and Cleopatra, and it's just connecting with people again. So we want to be part of that wave.
There's definitely like a new wave of like rock music. Like you can't deny it.
Yeah, there is. And I mean, thank God for Machine Gun Kelly and Youngblood. You know, I mean, they're not my favorite artists, but they're paving the way.
That Machine Gun Kelly album is great. I've been talking.
Yeah,
I like it. It's good.
It's good. Yeah, it's really good.
And then there's another artist, Kenny Hoopla. He did a song with Travis Barker called Estella, which is like on repeat. Like, shout out to Spotify playlist. I found it for that. But like, it's just crazy, man. It's like these like guys that are not used, like they're not known for doing like rock and like punk and like pop, are just like killing it. But I think it's just like what your band is doing too, like DPS, Dead Poet Society, is just kind of like it's a mix of a lot of different things. Like I don't feel like there's a lot of things going on in a Dead Poet Society song. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, a little too much sometimes.
There's a lot going on, and it's just kind of like, are you rock? Are you alternative? Are you indie rock? Are you experimental rock? Like, what are you?
Dude, with this new album, just be prepared to get even more confused. It goes even far. We have a folk song on the next album, but we also have like, have you heard our song Swarm by chance?
Yes, that's a little different.
Yeah, dude, I love that. That's a good one. Can I use that quote? Can I use that quote on our site?
Yeah, absolutely.
The song's a little different.
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that we don't really like to marry ourselves to one sound.
But why should you, right? Why should
exactly.
you? Yeah.
Exactly. That's our mind. That's our mindset. It's like when you go on Spotify, you don't listen to like one specific subgenre. You like go through this sort of journey of vibes, whether you're in your car or whatnot. It's like you play something heavy and you're like, I kind of want something soft, and you're like, all right, I want to get pumped up again. And so that was kind of like the objective for our new album. And it's kind of like a philosophy we've always had with writing our music, was just let the art be the art.
Absolutely.
Don't put any parameters on it,
Nope.
and just let it go where it wants to go. So we end up with songs like Swarm and then American Blood a few months earlier, you know, where it's like you have this like pretty generic alt rock song like American Blood, and then you just have this weird sludge, shitty sounding like
grungy,
chaos, grungy thing. And
it's
then,
grunge.
You know,
I'm like, what is this? Like grungy? Like is this like it's like a little bit of like Nirvana in there a bit too.
Yeah, dude. That song was a lot of fun to put together because it just came together so easy because we didn't second guess anything. And it's probably why it's not doing that great, but it's one of my favorite songs that we've ever
there's
written.
this band that's been around for quite a bit. They're a bunch of brothers. They're on a lot of Spotify playlists called Radkey. And they have like a new record out, and it's just literally like, it's like Misfits meets Green Day. That's literally what it is, and I love it.
That sounds awesome.
I love it. It's just like that. Those are literally the two, and I don't know if they would like agree with me, but like you just like, it's more of like a thicker kind of voice, kind of reminds you of the Danzig stuff, but then it's like a lot of like the Green Day riffs and a lot of that type of song. Like it's punk songs, but it has that like Danzig thick voice on it.
Dude, I like those. I'm sure you kind of sound the same way, but bands that just do things that make you go, what the fuck is happening right now?
I'm talking to one of them. I am, yes. In too deep. It's like, what is happening?
Artists. Those are always the artists that like stick with me for the longest time. Is like the newest band that I feel like is doing that is, have you heard of Idols?
Yes.
Yeah, they're fucking insane.
So good.
Dude, I saw their Tiny Desk concert and they played Never Fight a Man with a Perm. And it was like this breakdown of their set, and it was just the most ridiculous thing I had seen in months, where it was just all these guys dressed up in spandex and shirtless and in playing a Tiny Desk thing, and they were like a punk band, but like heavy rock influence, and their singer looked like a pirate, and it was just like, what is happening right now? It just blew my mind.
Or there's like the new the new like Fueled by Raymond band, Meet Me at the Altar, and they're all like 17, 16, like they're like 17, 18-year-old kid, like girls just playing pop punk, and it's like the greatest thing ever.
Oh, that's sick.
I
dude.
know.
No, I
right?
haven't
Like,
heard
it's
that
just,
yet.
Yeah, it's just so good, right? Like
You don't hear girl pop punk. That's another one of those things. It's just like,
well,
is it a girl singing?
Yeah, it's all girl band playing like pop punk. It's so good.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It's amazing. No, there's so much good music out there. Jack, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. Thank you for letting me ramble without a cause for 20 minutes.
Absolutely. So a record is coming out.
Yeah, record's coming out. It's coming out in February, and I don't really know how to pronounce the title of it, and I came up with it. So I don't really. So what it's gonna be is it's a dash. The name of the album, it's a dash, an exclamation point, and a dash, and it's really easy to type. It's really easy to see, but don't know what to call it. I'm kind of excited to let it drop and see what our fans call it.
You should like make it.
That's
You should call it like a sound, like ah.
Like some sort of onomatopoeia.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, like what's the new album called? It's called Ah.
Somebody put in one of our comments. Somebody put in one of our comments that it was the symbol from the Metal Gear Solid. So maybe we should just use like the.
Oh my god, that's another thing too. The amount of video games that have been played in the last like 6 months, like I can't.
Oh, dude. Can you even imagine the level of unproductivity?
Have you played Among Us yet? Have you, your girlfriend, tried that yet? Among Us?
I want to really bad.
Dude,
my sister has been begging me to download it.
Yeah, but you will get irritated by your friends and family very quick because there is some things that happen in that game where you're just gonna be like, this is like the worst.
Dude, it looks like a lot of fun.
It's amazing. It's so much fun.
I've been watching PewDiePie do it. All right, sorry.
Yeah, no. Where can people follow you on social media to keep update with everything, like the band, like what's going on there?
We're on Instagram and Twitter as We Are DPS, and Facebook.com/Dead Poet Society Band, and YouTube page is YouTube.com. Just type in Dead Poet Society. We usually are mixed somewhere within a bunch of thumbnails of Robin Williams. Yeah. So
I was about to say, yeah. Is it safe to say that's what the band name is from? Like,
yeah, it would be. Okay. I mean, like the thing was, the band was named that before I was in the band. It was it was kind of an arbitrary decision, you know, a few months before I joined the band, and everyone's regretted it ever since. But here we are. I wanted to change the name when I got in the band. Personally, I'll say it out. I'll say it. I'll be honest. I said, guys, the name of the band sucks. We need to change the name.
Have you ever thought about just like abbreviating it, like your DPS, or do you think
DPS? Yeah, we've thought about that, but it doesn't sound cool as like.
Or what about you just say like what about you just say like dips?
Dips? Yeah, that sounds way better than Dead Poet Society.
Never mind, forget it.
I think you found the one name that's worse than Dead Poet Society. Dips. Well, no, DPS sounds so like DPS just sounds so like meh, so we didn't want to name it that.
Man, thank you so much for doing this. All the best with the new record, and you know, if people want to check out Dead Poet Society, they can wherever they listen to music, Spotify.
Dude,
Apple
thank
Music.
you so much for having me, dude.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Jack from Dead Poet Society and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.